This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, nonstop Leafs talk starts now.
Presented by PointsBet Canada and Montana's, it's the Monday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill actually feeling pretty good on this Monday. What's going on, Rosie?
Well, I was feeling pretty good until I just found out we can't swear on the show anymore. What a Bush League setup that is. My goodness. So get ready to take this show to church, I guess. No more swearing, folks.
Imagine that. It's 2023. We're live here on YouTube and we can't be ourselves. That's so sad, man. So sad, Rosie.
My virgin ears.
Anyways, really impressive weekend for the Maple Leafs. We're going to recap on the show today. We're going to look at a specific line. There's a lot of storylines coming off this weekend. We talked about the back-to-back, but to me, there's none bigger than Connor Timmins, man. First NHL goal. I mentioned off the air we had a special video for you, so here it is. What do you remember about this? October 10th, 2009 against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Marc-Andre Fleury in net for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I remember almost missing the puck. First off. Oh, I was excited. I was still in a whirlwind of playing my first game like that same week. It was my third game in the league, I think, and to actually bury one, and I had a buddy right behind the net who came to watch. So I had a terrible helmet on that someone told me was good. Oh dear. Looking pretty old school these days.
Was that Ricard Wallin on your line?
Yeah, Ricard Wallin and Jamal Myers.
Yeah, Jammer's a beauty. How about Ricky Wallin? What was it like to play with him?
He was just a good guy, pretty straight laced, Swedish guy, just solid dude. But yeah, they wanted him on not exactly his forte, fourth line in the show, but I think he was a good face-off guy, penalty killer, all that kind of stuff. But nice guy.
Dude, have you sat your kids down and like told them the magnitude of scoring your first NHL goal, but who you scored it on? Like, that's pretty epic. I didn't remember that. It was Marc-Andre Fleury you scored your first time.
Yeah, it was Fleury, and they were the Cup champions that year, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like I said, kind of a whirlwind week to play your first game, and then didn't really think about scoring, was just trying to get some ozone time and crash and bang a little bit and earn some ice time, and then one slips out, and I caught a piece of it on the back door there. I think you can see in my face, it's basically shock that I just did that in the National League. So
I love that celebration. It's like 30 seconds long. We got some Ian White in that mix. Is that Schenner coming in there too?
I'm not sure if that was the human eraser or not. I'll have to look at it, but I don't think he played with Whitey, did he? Oh yeah, maybe he did there. Hard to say.
I think maybe he's coming off for a change. Is Wallin?
I think the crowd is definitely getting tired of this highlight low.
Ian White.
There's Jenner.
Yeah, I told you, man. There's Luke Shen. There you go. We got to get Jammer on the show, too. He set up your first NHL tuck. So I wanted to bring that to light. Connor Timmins has been an exceptional story, and we're going to talk about him on the show today as well. But remember to subscribe, tap that like button, leave us a review wherever you're checking us out. Don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest on all things Toronto Maple Leafs. Thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns. Tim's already chimed in here in the chat. We'll get to that a bit later on in the show. But for now, we're going to get over the boards. How sweep it is. Any pun you want to use, a sweep weekend for the Maple Leafs. They beat Detroit 4-1. They beat Philadelphia 6-2. What was the most impressive part of the weekend for you, Rosie?
Just the response, the overall response. I mean, they were, trudging through a little bit of mud there. There were some questions about this and that, and all the morons came out of the woodwork on Twitter saying, "See, I told you so. This experiment is a nightmare." And it's like, my God, we've been saying the whole time, hey, we can't ask for more, especially I'm thinking the goaltending duo. And I think we'd said last week, if we can get a sweep here and kind of erase the last week and a couple dropped games here, all would be well in Leafland. And I think that's exactly where we're sitting right now today with two solid wins. Just an overall great response head to toe from the team. New guys stepping up. Goaltenders both played solidly. So a good weekend for sure. It's a nice way to do it back to back.
How much better do you feel about the goaltenders, right? That was the big story as we wrapped last week. Matt Murray gets the Bronx cheers. You went on this epic rant. People shit on you on social media. Oh, sorry, I can't say it. People chirped you on social media. Yeah, I know. There go the ratings. They're plummeting right there. I can't swear anymore. But how much different do you feel about the goaltenders than you did maybe 3 days
No
ago?
different. I wasn't the one Bronx cheering them. I was sticking up for them. I think they have been solid. I mean, if you want to go through every goaltending tandem in the NHL with a fine-tooth comb, you're going to find a little blip on the radar where they don't have a 9.5 save percentage and where they didn't stand on their head and steal the game. And it's just the way it is playing goalie in the NHL, man. And they had the slightest hiccup, and that's what my problem was with the Bronx cheers and that kind of treatment of a guy who's done everything you could have asked for and more. He's better than the goaltending we've had in the past. Both of them are. And the slightest little sign of a hiccup, I don't like it when, the fans, quote unquote fans, start giving it to them. I mean, they expect perfection and it's not possible. So I don't feel any different about them. I'm glad that they solidified themselves and had good games, and that's kind of what's expected. And I think we said a long time ago, there's going to be times in this season where they have a little hiccup and they're not at their best. I mean, it's the same. Mitch Marner has been not at his best during games. So has Austin Matthews. Why do you expect these guys to be anything different? But you go back and look at what goaltender do you want if you don't like these guys? What do you want? What was available to Kyle Dubas? Like, what did you want? We've upgraded. It's working. It's great. We're in a good position. Be happy about it. And I always have been, and I still am today.
Andrei Vasilevsky, that's what I want for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Now, you're relatively new to the Twitterverse. What's your take on Twitter? Because I referenced it. I posted that epic rant, which I thought was really, really well done by you. I think people want to hear opinion, especially on this podcast, and you give it to them, and you do give it to them. But what do you make of Twitter so far? Would it be something that you'd probably dabble in if you're still playing in this league and Twitter was a real thing?
Ooh, it'd be interesting. Like I'm thinking to myself, if I did have Twitter back in 2009, 10 or whatever, and you're playing in
Yeah.
that market, you'd obviously have, a lot more eyeballs on your page. And it would, I remember when Bizanet was tweeting like crazy, man. And he was like going off the rails on Twitter, and guys in the league were saying, this guy is tweeting himself right out of the league. And turns out he
And
knew
look
what
at
he
him
was
now.
doing, though, because he's just killing it. But no, overall impression of Twitter, man, I like it. It's kind of a little community there. I only really follow like Leafs type of accounts and fans and
Yeah.
media personnel right now that follow the Leafs as well. And it's been really positive, good fan base. Everything's awesome. But of course, you're going to have the guys that come out of the woodworks and have their opinion, which makes it fun too. But sometimes I just disagree with people on there and how hard they are on this team, because I kind of have two perspectives, being a player and feeling that, and now I'm in media and watching how it happens from the other side. So all I can do is give my point and perspective, and it's fun. It's a fun thing though. But overall, the community has been pretty solid.
It's all about reactions and engagement, and you'll get plenty of that from the head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers, John Tortorella. Did you have any run-ins with Torts in your career at all, or did you hear any guys who played for him? Because it's really interesting, because you either get the perspective, I love this guy. Hell, they mentioned on the broadcast last night that Cam Atkinson pretty much went to bat for Torts to be in Philadelphia, of course, had him with the Columbus Blue Jackets. And of course, you have the other side of the spectrum who just hate the guy.
Yeah, well, like I was drafted by Tampa, so I went to, camp since I was 18 years old in Tampa, Black Ace with them, and was around Torts a little bit. I don't know if he even knew my name, but I just remember being at the SFU track outside, and we're running a 3-mile race around the SFU track in 90% humidity, and he's walking around the inside with a bullhorn, fucking friggin' whoopsies. There goes another bunch yelling at
We need a
everyone
swear
while
jar.
we're
We need a swear jar.
yeah, seriously, we're gonna have to pay YouTube not to demonetize us for swearing. Jeez, what a pain. But yeah, he's just an intense man. I remember some of the meetings he'd have at the beginning of camp. It's almost like he's trying to intimidate or scare you. But at the end of the day, my overall impression of Torts was that he's intense. He wants the best, but at the end of the day, he's fair and he cares. So I mean, that's where I think people go to bat for him, is when they rely on that side of his personality. But definitely, he can rub people the wrong way and kind of get under people's skins with some of his takes. Man, he seems to almost love to be that contrarian who has the hot take of just dismissing the heck out of something that he didn't like the All-Star game, for example, this week, you know?
Yeah, and again, I love how he pooped on that, but I think, in my opinion at least, it was more because he scratched his all-star in Kevin Hayes, and his boy is Travis Konechny, and then like Hayes is named an all-star. I just think sometimes he's embarrassed and he doesn't even realize it, and I just think he can't get out of his own way. Like, I love John Tortorella. You know, the best thing about him, so I used to work on NHL Network Radio, as you know, pretty much every preseason I would fill in on the daytime shows in September, and it seemed for like 3-4 years in a row we'd have John Tortorella on the show in like September, like before the preseason. Much different dude. And I always tell coach Scott Lachlan, I'm like, just wait a month until the regular season starts and they lose their first game, and it's a way different tour. Man, we were talking about like dog shelters, like he's got a passion for that, and fostering dog. It's such a much different interview with Torts in, say, like September or like August than it would be in like November, where he's probably giving you like 7-word answers. It's hilarious to me.
Yeah, I think so. He like we said, he's very intense, very passionate about winning, but he is I think he really cares. I think he's a caring person
Yeah.
and a kind person, but he just doesn't show very well or very much when he's, going off the rails, being super intense. And, I think he's got a little bit of an anger, a temper, and he gets very passionate and intense. And when he's like that, worried about hockey and wanting the best out of his team and caring so much, you're not going to see that kind side. But yeah, like I said, there's a honesty or a quality about him that he cares, obviously, and that he is a good person. I imagine him going up to families and their kids and getting down on a knee and talking to the young kid, and like he cares and he's a kind guy, but it just doesn't show through when he's being intense about hockey. And I think you want that to a degree with your coach, but obviously I think he overdoes it a little bit sometimes and gets himself, maybe attention that he doesn't even want.
Yeah, sometimes it really doesn't translate, but we'll see. In the grand scheme of things here with Philadelphia, they are in a rebuild. Montana's is bringing back the viewing party with daily deals in 2023. Who doesn't love chicken wings, Rosie? Half-price wings today, maybe mix in a pint or two. I think if you're feeling adventurous, maybe you go for 2 pounds because it is half price. But what's your wing choice? I like spice, so I go hot all the time.
Yeah, hot. I don't like the dry rubs. I like the wet, the saucy wings. As long as there's a big dunk of ranch and a big full pint of beer beside me, I love wing night, man. Especially, I remember going to Montana's when I used to live there, and we'd get racks of ribs and wings and crank beers, and sometimes might need a ride home.
Oh, that's happened once or twice, but I'm telling you right now, Montana's can hook you up. So check out Mondays of the half-price wings, and check out the, I guess, unofficial second line of the Maple Leafs. Yarncroke, JT, and Marner have been exceptional. So 9 games since Yarncroke returned from that groin injury. Rosie, they've combined for 33 points. Is Sheldon Keefe onto something with this trio?
I mean, it looks like it. They shuffle lines around so much. It's hard to even say what is the lines. And, I can't say that it's a negative thing. They seem to find, I mean, let's be honest, look who you're playing with. I mean, you put Mitch Marner with a couple of guys that can hold a hockey stick. I mean, things are still going to happen. But Johnny T, I mean, he kind of came out of the gates hot this season, and he's kind of cooled off and let the big boys take over. And now there's a bit of a resurgence here with some of the chem that these guys have found. It's nice to see Kelly Yarncroke come in, and we've been looking for that guy like who can kind of like step up and fill a role in this top 6 here. And I think Sheldon Keefe's done a great job of finding chemistry and then mixing it up when need be without breaking anything up or ruining anything, and then finding some more chem over here. And I think they've got a plethora of different lines they can use, and obviously they'll stick with this one for a while until maybe things change and you toss Nylander back or whatever they want to do. They seem to find chemistry no matter what they do, but obviously a nice showing from this second line here. And I really like Yarncroke stepping up and being a guy who can put some numbers on the board, because they need that. They've got Bunting up top, and now they kind of need that guy down on the second line, and he's doing his job right now, so it's been great.
You're right. It's nice to see a guy sort of take the reins. We sort of joked about it, what was like a month ago, that like 17 different guys got a look with Marner and Tavares, and now finally one sticks. Like, he's on pace for a career year. I like the contract with Yarncroke too. It's multiple years. This guy's a nice depth piece that's going to play in your bottom 6 or your mid 6, if you will. Like, he brings a lot of variables to the table. I still think in a perfect world, he's better suited for the third line, and remains to be seen what they do ahead of the March 3rd deadline. But as long as he continues to produce and play this way, he's going to stick with these guys. Like you mentioned, John Tavares too. And I think you're so right to bring up that He had an impressive start, sort of middled off, like he was more like average, I would say, in the middle stretch, and he started to cook again, man. The last 5 games, 4 goals and 4 assists for the captain, John Tavares, who overall has exceeded expectations, at least in my opinion, so far this season.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, anything you want to say about him that's negative has been negated by this season. I mean, he's had, career numbers throughout different parts of the season, big time goals when they need it, finding chem with different guys. And then obviously just his professionalism and leadership style is extremely valuable as well. And I think a team like this, who's young, who's got a bunch of guns, it's important to have, one of those captains where he does everything right and kind of keeps everyone in check. He's going to be doing that extra little thing in the gym, and everyone's going to look through the window and be like, oh yeah, I better get in there with Johnny. And he's going to be, the consummate professional, top down, bottom down, maybe not a guy that you're going to go crank beers with and be a wild man, but he's just the guy that does everything right. And I think that leadership role is kind of even undervalued in this team, because that kind of puts a cap on this high profile, high stud, young hockey team, especially on the forwards, and he kind of keeps that all bottled up nicely. I really like the way he's been playing. I think he suits this, and I think he's a great captain for the Maple Leafs, which has a long history of some really solid captains.
Professional is the word I would use to describe John Tavares. I covered this guy when he played junior hockey to now with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he's been professional since he was like 13, 14 years old. Let's not forget the glitz and glamour that John Tavares came from. You're great with nicknames. You referenced that. Do you have a name for this line just yet? Do you have a rule as to how many games a line needs together before we can coin a nickname for them? Because I think we're getting to that level here with this line.
Yeah. I haven't thought about lines. I'm more just like, it comes off my tongue when I just say a guy's name. I'll throw some weird ass thing on it, but not yet. Let's see if they keep this train rolling, and we'll start thinking about nicknames for it. I'm sure it'll be ugly. I'm thinking, I was talking to Bozy the other day and remembering the frat pack from back in like the 2010s, where it was Hansen, Stahlberg, and Bozak, and they were the frat pack for a while there. And that didn't really land too well. I think it lasted all of one preseason, but made me chuckle thinking of that.
Dude, was it after the lockout Tyler Bozak came back with the flow? I called him Tyler Flozak for a long time. Did he have a flow when you played with him, or was that after?
No, he was short-haired. He was young coming out of college, and I think our rookie years, 09-10, were the same year, and I was gone by the lockout, so yeah, I think he grew it out after that. I vaguely remember that too.
Tyler Flozak, man, he was a stud. Make sure to subscribe to the Nation Network YouTube page, also the Leafs Nation Twitter at TLNDC, Instagram and Facebook accounts as well. Lots of great prizes and giveaways coming away courtesy of Montana's this month and for the rest of the year. The Yarncroke JT Marner line, again, 33 points in the last 9 games, which leads us to topic number 3. What's ahead for the Maple Leafs this week? Finally, a couple days off here. They've been playing a lot. At home on Wednesday against the Nashville Predators, at Detroit on Thursday. And it's tough not to do this, but I hope that they're not victim of looking ahead to Saturday's game, the measuring stick games of all measuring stick games against a team that never loses at Boston. I can't wait for that one, Rosie.
That is a big one, and it's one that you're going to have to get a little more prepped for than the Predators or the Red Wings. But like you say, you got a back-to-back there, and you don't want to come up and fall short. You want to keep this thing going. They built some momentum this weekend. It would be great to keep that going through the week and have everything fired, everyone high confidence, everyone rocking and rolling, all the lines clicking. Feeling really good going against Boston, because that is a big kind of 4-point game when you're trying to chase somebody, and these guys do not lose much. We've already beat them this year, might I add. So it'll be interesting to see, man, but that is definitely the big game of the week.
I love the poll in the chat right now. Favorite wings, you got honey garlic, spicy hot, barbecue, and other. And again, spicy hot would be the pick of choice as we still continue to promote Montana, as I'm just craving for wings right now. But you're right on Boston. It's just been an exceptional season. Jim Montgomery's done a great job. Jeremy Swayman gets the victory last night in Anaheim. They won in the back-to-back. Like, they don't skip a beat. They have 4 regulation losses. Here we sit on January 9th. But again, first up is a Wednesday clash with the Nashville Predators, who I believe will be on a back-to-back. I think they're in Montreal tomorrow night, but I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure, though.
Yeah, that would make sense. It's, again, you got another back-to-backs, right? Wednesday, Thursday. Is that not right? And then you get that little day off on Friday, and you got a big one on Saturday. So a huge week for them. And again, I think this weekend is really important for them to get their feet under them. That's exactly what we wanted, a sweep with both goalies getting a win and, emergence of some guys starting to step up right now at a good time. So good week for that to happen. But yeah, it's nice to be out of the negativity like it was last week and get rocking and rolling here, get a few, bang these off. And, it'd be ideal to get 2 more and come in on a 4-game winning streak and see if we can take down the mighty Bruins right now.
And that's my mistake, by the way. Nashville's in action tonight, and they're in Ottawa against your guy, Claude Giroux, who could be gracing us with his presence on this show this week, right?
That's right. I mean, it is confirmed by him, unless he's going to be a flaky diva about it, but I don't think that's G's style.
Yeah, so it looks like Wednesday we're going to have Claude Giroux on the show. So again, keep it locked all week here on Leafs Nation and also Leafs Morning Take, because we're bringing you the goods for sure as we start off 2023. So again, Nashville in action in Ottawa tonight, in Toronto on Wednesday. Can't wait to say UC Saros. We don't really see Nashville very much. Western Conference opponent. They got some pretty decent players on that roster. Philip Forsberg, Matt Duchene, Ryan Johansson, Roman Josi. It's a lot of fun to watch Nashville. I love going to Nashville. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah, one of the best cities on the road, no doubt. I mean, I like that state, I like that town, I like the vibe, I like that barn, I like their crowd and fans. It's always a wicked road trip. I mean, people go there just for the hell of it. There's not a lot of people going to Buffalo for a weekend vacation, but people certainly go to Nash Vegas.
Much different story for sure. The wrap up is brought to you by our friends at PointsBet Canada. All right, so let the record show. Who was your lieutenant on Friday? Who was it again?
Stevie Stewart. You blew it.
You blew it, Stevie. Took Arizona against Chicago, I believe, and yeah, Chicago wins that game. But it happens. It's tough to bet on hockey. We try our best, and we've had a pretty good success rate. So was Tim in the chat today. So Tim, keep it coming. Congratulations on the 3-leg parlay last night. For tonight's look, I'm looking at Philadelphia and Buffalo. I'm looking at the over in that game. So last I checked, it was -121. I'm not usually Mr. Stats guy, but number one, Craig Anderson is slated to start this game. It's a back-to-back, the front end for Buffalo. UPL is going to start tomorrow against the Seattle Kraken. And the last 7 regular season meetings between Philadelphia and Buffalo have hit the over or pushed. So I'm going to look at the over 6.5 between Buffalo and Philadelphia tonight, Rosie.
Yeah, as good as any, man. It's a tough gig trying to make these plays, right? Usually, again, I like to get a vibe of a game first before I place a bet. I feel like I can get maybe ahead of the numbers if you feel something or got a feeling on the way the game starts. But this seat of your pants, I mean, I don't watch Buffalo enough. We just saw Philadelphia. We know what they're like. So it's as good a bet as any, man, in my books. I'm a little bit, me and Stevie got to talk about that Arizona bet, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I'm starting to think about them just tanking the whole season in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes, whether they can do it on their own or get a little help from Gary Bettman, not to start putting my tinfoil hat on. But I would put money down right now if there was a bet that Arizona gets Connor Bedard one way or the other.
I don't know about that. Chicago's pretty damn bad, and the math doesn't really check out for Arizona, but I understand what you're saying. Tim writes in, I think this is a healthy bet anytime Buffalo plays. Tage Thompson, anytime goal. I really like that. That guy scores every game. He has to be on my short list right now for Hart Trophy winners, but I don't know about you. I think if a team doesn't make the playoffs, I don't know if I can anoint somebody the Hart Trophy, but it's certainly a topic of conversation given the season Tage Thompson has had. So, again, I like the over, Philadelphia and Buffalo over 6.5 in that game. And should mention as well, Carter Hart played last night for Philly. So Sam Ersson, I believe, the backup, the rookie for Philadelphia. Things, in my opinion, are trending towards the over. I hope it hits. I hope I'm not the guy who manifests the under because of the 7 straight games hitting the over between Buffalo and Philly. But I think it's going to be a loose game tonight.
Yeah, I like it. There's all kinds of reasons. I like backup goalies. I like back-to-backs. I like, neither of them are really lighting things up right now. That speaks to me that they get a little leaky defensively, and both of them have some firepower up front. So all signs pointing towards the over. I get why you make that bet. It's probably, the stats say that that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's always nice to get that plus money. Yeah, it's hard to say, man. Frick, betting's so hard. There's no reason to think not, and then we're gonna gather tomorrow and be like, what the hell was that? It's like, it's sports, man.
Pretty much. We'll bookend the show by talking about Connor Timmins. We talked about your first NHL goal off the top. We talked about Timmins scoring his first NHL goal. This has been a revelation. Like, what a story. And I think at this point, there's no way Timmins leaves the lineup. Last night, it's just in favor of TJ Brody, undisclosed, doesn't play. Again, a guy who's pretty much been an Iron Man for the Leafs, has had some injury struggles so far this season. But they bring Timmins in, gets a goal and an assist, and he's been really, really steady. Kyle Dubas deserves a lot of credit for that trade.
Yeah, it's one that's been working out. He looks, for how green he is and for what he's done in the past, he's come in and made an impact. And always awesome to see a guy get their first NHL goal. And, it was a good one and a well-timed one. And it was just, a guy who's catching fire on the back end there. And anytime those guys on the back end are chipping in offensively, especially when they're not like, known for doing that, it's always a really nice bonus and good to see, especially when it's their first one.
Definitely. And I think in general, the bottom six has taken on an identity. Wayne Simmons back in the mix last night in favor of your boy Dryden Hunt. I don't mind the exploration. Like, I want to see some different looks. We see Morgan Riley back on PP1. Like, they're pretty much trying everything. So as I mentioned last week, give 11 and 7 a look, provided TJ Brody is healthy enough to go the next game. And reading in between the lines, they want to give him a couple more days until the Nashville game. I'd love to see them go with 11 and 7 because I love Wayne Simmons, but I think you're able to go with one less forward and one more defenseman, and Tampa seems to have a lot of success when they do that.
Yeah, it's funny. We've had teams do that over the past. I remember I don't think that the defensemen love it too much. All of a sudden, you don't just have a rhythm or a flow, and your partners are getting switched up, and then it kind of ruins the flow for that fourth line too. You try to mix a center in for those two guys, but eventually they end up sitting there more often than not once you get a rhythm going with the top three lines. And it does work for some people, but I definitely know some people don't like it, and not a lot of looks for it right now. But again, when you're having trouble figuring out who to take out and you want to let guys solidify themselves on that back end and really gain some ground as far as defensive pairings and chemistry goes, it's a good way to do it, and it doesn't really kill anybody, and you get extra looks for these guys, especially like you say, if you can't really decide who needs to come out and no one deserves to get yanked out of there. And it's a good way to kind of get everyone involved and let someone take control and force the issue on who's going to be in the lineup.
Very well said, and we look forward to the next game for the Maple Leafs on Wednesday night at home at Scotiabank Arena against the Nashville Predators. We'll leave it at that, Rosie. You're not in tomorrow, so you're back on Wednesday, where, again, we're expected to have Claude Giroux of the Ottawa Senators hop on the program. Of course, your former teammate, so no doubt we're going to try our best to get him to sewer you a bit and find out what Jay Rosehill was like as a teammate, okay?
Sounds good. That should be pretty easy.
There you have it. That's Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Have a great day.